Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's story. A woman disappears in silence, leaving behind only a bottle of milk and a promise. A man searches, not just for her, but for the answer to a question he never dared to ask. And another man wonders if he's already lost her, not to time, but to someone else. Why did Tuna leave without a word? Is Johnny just helping, or hiding something more? And when Alex finds her again, will he fight, or will he let go? This is not just a love story. It's a story of silence, longing, and the moment you realize that love doesn't always mean holding on. If you're drawn into this world of quiet choices and aching hearts, stay with us until the end. And if this story touches you, don't forget to subscribe. We're so close to reaching 1,000 followers, and your support means everything. Now, let the story begin. She cradled the child against her chest, the early morning mist still clinging to the leaves like a memory that refused to fade. Tuna's voice was a whisper, not meant to wake the world, just enough for the baby to hear, or perhaps for herself. "Be good. Let Mom go to work," she murmured, pressing a gentle kiss on his forehead. The old wooden house creaked as she stepped out, the faint scent of warm milk lingering in the air. Her mother waited by the door, her arms open like branches of an old tree ready to hold yet another storm. "Leave the baby to me," the old woman said softly. "Go find a job. I'll feed him when he wakes." Tuna nodded, eyes not quite meeting her mother's. "I expressed milk already. He won't cry." But her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted the blanket around the baby. Letting go never came easy. Not for mothers, not for hearts already bruised by absence. As she stepped onto the dirt road, she paused. The sunlight filtered through the trees like fragments of hope, too scattered to hold. In the silence of that moment, a thought slipped through her mind. If only Johnny and his mother were my real family. But the truth was still the truth. They weren't. She tightened her grip on the basket, straightened her back, and walked on. Behind her, the wind rustled the leaves like a lullaby being carried back to the child she had just left. A lullaby filled with longing, resilience, and quiet sorrow. It was just another morning. But in her eyes, it was a battlefield. A mother going to war with the world, for love, for survival, and for a future she wasn't sure she could hold. The road dust clung to Johnny's shoes, the kind that sticks not because it's heavy, but because it's been walked over too many times with hope. He moved from vendor to vendor, describing the same girl over and over, tall, carrying a baby, eyes like dusk. Each time, he waited for recognition to flicker in someone's gaze, like a candle catching wind. Sometimes it did. Sometimes it didn't. His voice remained calm, but his eyes were tracing every silhouette that passed, every alley that turned, as if she could be hiding just beyond the corner of the day. At a small shop shaded by banana leaves, a woman finally nodded. Yes, someone like that passed by. She went that way. Johnny's heart beat a little louder, not faster, but deeper. He thanked her and took a step forward, then stopped. The moment didn't call for excitement, only caution. Finding someone like Tuna wasn't about rushing, it was about understanding that she may not want to be found. He called Long, a friend from their old neighborhood who was now a police officer. "I think I've found a trail," he said, trying to keep the tremble out of his voice. "Can you help me?" "Already on it," Long replied. "We'll search together." Johnny ended the call, stood still for a second. The sun overhead was indifferent. It lit the road but didn't guide it. He remembered the last time he saw her, the way she looked away more than she looked at him. He never asked why. Maybe today wasn't just about finding her. Maybe today was about finding what was left of the connection they once had, or confirming that it was gone. The hum of negotiation echoed inside the quiet cafe. Alex sat across from his business partner, fingers laced, voice steady. Numbers were exchanged like cards at a poker table. Tons of fruit, prices per kilo, delivery windows. Everything should have felt familiar. But today, something in him tugged elsewhere. He nodded politely, even smiled at the right moments. Yet behind his gaze was distance, a soft, unspoken drift that neither coffee nor commerce could anchor. His phone buzzed. A name flashed across the screen, and with it, a memory. "Excuse me," he said calmly, pushing his chair back. "I have something urgent." Out on the street, the air smelled like wet earth and chance. And that's when he saw her. A flash of fabric, the curve of a familiar figure standing among crates of fruit in the marketplace. Tuna. Time didn't pause, but his breath did. He walked toward her, slow, as if sudden movement might shatter the moment. She looked up, startled, cautious, but not cold. "Are you selling here?" he asked. "I just harvested longan, decided to bring it here," she replied, not meeting his eyes. "I'll take you home. It's raining," he said simply. She hesitated, then nodded. They sat in silence during the drive, the rain tapping gently against the windshield, like 1,000 unsaid words. Alex didn't ask why she left, or why she didn't call. He only stopped by a store, bought milk, and handed it to her quietly. For the baby. She thanked him. He said nothing more. As he turned the car to leave, he didn't look back, but something in him stayed behind. In the silence, in the rain, in her eyes. They walked together beneath a thin drizzle, their shadows stretching long across the wet gravel road. Alex carried her basket. Tuna held the bag of milk he had bought, neither speaking, as though the rain did the talking for them. The air was filled with that familiar scent of damp earth and something unresolved. "Thank you," she said, voice barely louder than the rain. He didn't answer right away. His eyes were fixed ahead, but his thoughts lingered somewhere between her hand brushing the edge of his coat and the memory of her asleep on his shoulder long ago. "I just thought, you shouldn't walk in the rain," he finally murmured. Tuna looked at him, as if trying to read what was unsaid. But instead, she nodded. "It's not far from here." They arrived near the house. She reached to take back the basket, but Alex gently pushed it into her arms and added, "There's also something for Miss Tang inside. You mentioned her earlier." The gesture caught her off guard, a soft blink, then a quiet, "Thank you." He looked at her for a moment, wanting to say more, but his phone rang. A meeting. Urgent. He stepped away to take the call. The rain whispered secrets behind him. When he returned, she was standing near the gate, her back to him. "I have to go," he said. "I understand." Alex hesitated, then handed her a small packet, the milk. "For the baby. Just take it." She reached out, fingers barely brushing his. "You didn't have to." "I know," he said softly, "but I wanted to." He didn't wait for a goodbye. He turned, walked back into the rain. Behind him, Tuna stood alone, milk in hand, heart unsure. And the space between them was filled not with absence, but with everything neither dared to say. Evening settled like a slow breath across the village. Streetlights blinked to life, casting quiet pools of amber light along the roadside. Back in his car, Alex stared at the windshield, wipers swaying rhythmically, but his thoughts were not with the road. They were with her. Tuna. The softness in her voice. The way she didn't look at him too long. The way she said thank you, as if there was something she was afraid to accept. He replayed the moment over and over, the basket, the rain, the silence. Then his phone lit up again. "Johnny." "Alex," came the voice on the other end. "I've searched a few more places, still no clear trace, but I heard someone saw a woman matching Tuna's description near the market." Alex's heart sank. The market. Again? "Thanks, Johnny," he replied, the words sharp despite his attempt to stay calm. "You've been close to her lately, haven't you?" There was a pause. "I just want to help." Alex didn't respond. His silence weighed heavier than accusation. He ended the call quietly, then sat still, staring into the dark beyond his headlights. A seed of doubt had rooted itself, not because he saw anything, but because of what he felt. He remembered how Johnny's voice softened when he spoke about her, how naturally he said, "I'll find her." Maybe he already had. Maybe they were together now. Johnny and Tuna, tied by something Alex could no longer reach. He let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. It wasn't anger. It was something worse. The ache of stepping back, before knowing if you were ever meant to stay. The sky was overcast, a canvas of gray brushed with streaks of longing. At the intersection near Alex's farm, 3 figures stood, each with their own reason, their own silence. Johnny arrived first, his coat damp from earlier rain, a quiet urgency in his movements. He paced lightly, scanning the roads, then checked his phone again. When Alex pulled up moments later, their eyes met, but there was no greeting, only a nod. Then Long arrived, wearing the practical uniform of a police officer, but with the familiarity of someone who knew both men beyond protocol. Alex stepped forward. "Thanks for coming," he said to Long, then glanced sideways at Johnny. "Any new updates?" Johnny looked away, hesitant. Still no exact location, but I'm sure she's nearby. A few people said they saw her recently. Alex folded his arms, the wind brushing past his shoulders like someone whispering doubts. "We'll split up," Long proposed. "2 teams. We cover more ground that way." Alex agreed. "Johnny and I will go together," he said, too quickly. Johnny blinked, surprised, but nodded. Long paired off with another officer. Then they all turned toward different paths. As they walked down the narrow trail, gravel crunching beneath their shoes, the air between Alex and Johnny was heavy. Not hostile, but heavy. Alex finally spoke, eyes forward. "You seem invested." Johnny paused, then said, "I care about her." The words hit like distant thunder. Alex didn't reply. He didn't have to. The silence between them was enough. A quiet battlefield of unspoken claims, uncertain truths, and one woman neither man could truly hold. They kept walking, both toward Tuna, both toward something neither of them was ready to name. The forest path curved gently, cloaked in morning mist, and the kind of quiet only known to those carrying unanswered questions. Alex walked ahead, his footsteps careful, deliberate, as if each step might awaken something he had tried to bury. Johnny followed behind, occasionally calling Tuna's name into the wind. The echoes dissolved into the trees. Alex didn't call out. Instead, he listened to the silence between the birdsong, to the crunch of gravel beneath his shoes, to the echo of a question that had no safe answer. If she truly loves him, would I still search for her? He remembered the look in her eyes the day he gave her the milk. It wasn't avoidance. It wasn't affection. It was something else. Like the sky before a storm, calm yet bracing. "She's not mine to keep," he thought. Just then, Johnny's voice called from ahead. "This way! There's a footprint near the stream!" Alex stepped forward, but slower now. Not because he doubted the path, but because he doubted his place in it. The trees parted, the stream shimmered, and still there was no sign of her. Just the wind, threading through the leaves like a quiet messenger. Long appeared from the other side, shaking his head. No luck. The 3 men stood together again, Alex, Johnny, and Long, beneath the soft light of a day still trying to decide what it wanted to be. Alex looked at Johnny, then at the trail that continued on. In his heart, something loosened. Not defeat, but acceptance. He would walk this path with them, but only until she chose who to walk with next. Because love, when real, is not about winning. It's about knowing when to step aside with grace. Tuna, a single mother, quietly leaves her old life behind to find peace for her child. Johnny, a close friend, searches for her tirelessly, even enlisting help from the police. Meanwhile, Alex, the man once closest to her, unexpectedly crosses paths with Tuna on a rainy afternoon. He takes her home, buys milk for her baby, but walks away without asking the questions in his heart. When Alex realizes Johnny is also searching for her, he begins to suspect that the two may now be together. He doesn't confront, doesn't accuse, only hurts in silence. 3 men, 3 perspectives, one journey to find a woman who chose silence over explanation. And in the end, Alex must face the quietest question of all. When love hesitates, do you hold on or let go?